Hi everyone, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Karina, who has an amazing testimony. She had a very difficult life, which she is going to share a little bit about that life that she had. But the beauty of it is that she actually got her hands upon a Gideon's Bible, and this kind of changed everything in her life. So Karina, I'd like to just share this wonderful testimony that you have. It was a very difficult time in your life as a child. You could just share a little bit about that, and then what the Gideons New Testament meant to you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Karina. I was born in Guildford in Surrey, in England, to atheist parents back in the 60s. My parents weren't just atheists, they were very anti-Christian. In the 60s we had real winters and our house was quite cold, and I remember being so cold there were icicles on the inside of the windows, and I was so cold I thought I was going to freeze to death, so I used to get out of my bed and pray as best I knew how. So my mother humiliated me and called my father up and they both used to humiliate me before bed for praying. Eventually my parents migrated to Australia, so I didn't need to pray that. It was quite warm in Australia. But my parents were very abusive. They physically abusive. They would kick me around the floor. They would beat me with meat tenderizers. They would starve me. They would steal all my money. They would use single word commands and treat me like a slave. It was just single word commands, and if I didn't jump up immediately, I was beaten. But the problem was my father had shown my mother, and they both used to cup their hands and hit me round the head until my eardrums burst. So my eardrums were pierced so many times I became deaf, quite deaf, not completely deaf, but it became harder for me to hear their instructions. So my beatings were quite regular, and so that was my life really. Then in my first year of high school, we had a visit from a man from Gideons. And to be honest, I don't remember what he said. But at the end of his speech, he offered us a free New Testament. And about a third of us got up and went and received this New Testament. It was a little red New Testament with Psalms and Proverbs. And when the man gave me this little booklet, he held my hand and said, "Do you promise that you will read it?" And I said yes. And so I held that book and I took it home to read. And I was sat on my bed trying to read this Bible, this New Testament, but it was in King James English, and being dyslexic, I struggled to read modern English. And my mother caught me with this New Testament, and she demanded that I throw it out. Well, because I promised this guy that I would read it, I hid it for the rest of the time. My mother never found that New Testament. But then in 1980, my mother was killed by a drunk driver on the road. And I remember family, friends and my father gathered together in the house, and they said to me, "It's an unloving God that would take your mother like that," which totally confused me. So I went into my bedroom, I closed the door, I looked up at the ceiling and said, "God, if you're real, show me." Well, nothing happened, but after the family friends left the house, my father, for some unknown reason, came bursting into the bedroom and started beating me uncontrollably. And I remember during that time just looking up and saying, "God, are you showing me something?" I don't know why, but that was what I said. And Anyway, school friends saw the bruising and it was reported to the school counsellor. Social services were called, and I was immediately taken out of the home and placed into a children's refuge. I did remember to take my little Gideons New Testament with me. But I was fostered after that into a Christian foster home. And again I said, God, are you showing me something? And then while I was there, I was asleep one night, and in the middle of the night, the whole bedroom filled with light. And Messiah stood on the end of my bed, looked down at me and said, accept me as Lord. I was absolutely terrified. He was pure love and pure light and pure holiness. And eventually the light faded and he left. And I got back to sleep and I thought, I dreamt it. I thought, this is crazy. But in the morning, one of the other people I live with, a lady called Irene, she was so angry with me. She said, why did you have your light on for at least 20 minutes? It doesn't take you 20 minutes to go to the toilet. And I said, I didn't get up. I didn't have the light on. And she basically called me a liar. And I thought, well, you're not going to believe what really happened. And I never told her. But I did eventually tell my foster mother.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is such a wonderful testimony, Karina.
Thank
And
you.
it's so wonderful that it all started with the Gideon's Bible. Isn't that a wonderful thing? The little Gideon's Bible that Karina received from that man who showed so much care for her as well. So thank you, Karina, for that amazing testimony.
I
know
forgot to mention,
Yes?
when I got saved,
Yeah?
the Lord showed me how to read the King James. He showed me how to read, and I can read the King James Bible. So I did fulfill the promise, and I've read the King James Bible now over 40 times.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank
Karina,
you.
for your lovely testimony.
Thank you.